Welcome to the Franchise Freedom Podcast, where you can escape the corporate trap through franchise ownership. Here's your host, Giuseppe Grammatico, the Franchise Guide.
Thanks for joining us. Very exciting episode. This is our first show, a new show for 2024. We took the month of January to regroup. Just got back from our national conference and made some changes. So wanted to let everyone know we just launched our new website. So same website, ggthefranchiseguide.com. And we've added a lot more resources on there. We've broken up based off your goals, what you're looking to accomplish. And we've just beefed up a lot of the media and FAQs and things like that. So definitely check that out. As you also noticed, we changed our cover art for the show, had some help, intro, outros. So yeah, and a brand new CRM. So we've been very busy on this end. And part of taking off the month of January was to really regroup and figure out a plan going into this year as to topics to cover. We've done some polls. We've got some feedback from guests, from people that have purchased franchises and things like that. So part of what we're going to work on later this year is support after the fact, after purchasing a franchise or business, and advice and things like along those lines. So work in progress, but looking forward to launching some new episodes. So for today, we're really excited and just got back from New Orleans a few weeks ago at our national conference, where we travel twice a year and meet over 125 or so franchise companies. We have funding companies and other companies there, and really kind of sitting down talking about the state of franchising, what's new, what are the trends, what's working, what's not, and I wanted to bring up my 3 takeaways from the conference. So we will dive right in. So, one of the key takeaways and things we talked about. So we also had, as I mentioned, other companies in funding, and funding was a very popular topic with everything going on. And the best piece of advice was to look into funding sooner than later, not after a franchise has been selected. So what does that mean? It's really just starting today and putting your financials together, figuring out what is your net worth, what is your liquidity. So what money do you have access to? Cash, savings, CDs. What about your investments and retirement? Let's talk about home, equity in the home. What your rough estimate of what your home is worth minus what is owed. So really figuring that out early and listing it out, assets minus liabilities, and getting your net worth. And it's crucial to get that started in the initial phase, just to figure out kind of where you're at. So it helps with figuring out, what are the funding options available to you. And we've seen a lot of SBA loans, as we talked about in previous shows, home equity lines of credit, as well as the ROBS plan, the retirement rollover for business startup, where you're able to use retirement funds from a previous employer to fund the franchise. So a lot of great options. And the great part is it could be a combination of options. But in order to get qualified and figure out kind of an investment range of, what is needed, not just at the, to get the loan approved, but also what are the financial requirements in the franchise company. It's good to get all that information together. So that was one of the big takeaways, is get funding in order. But also with funding, something I like to add is you want to make sure to have, depending on how you're running this business, for example, if you are leaving your employer to run the business full time, you want to make sure to have 3 to 6 months of to cover personal expenses. Right? Who's paying your rent? Who's paying your mortgage? Utilities, loans. You have student loans and things like that. And then just living expenses, food, insurance, all that fun stuff. You want to make sure that's all covered, and then you have that cushion there, because the business, obviously you're starting that business to make money, but some businesses will take longer than others, and you want to make sure to have those funds readily available. So that's when looking at the big picture, have those funds, and then get approved for whatever funding product. So last thing on the funding is get all your options, because you never know, what may be maybe a good fit now, may not be a good fit later. Meaning if you're looking to expand later on, it's good to have options and, start off hypothetically with a retirement rollover and then get an SBA later on, or vice versa when you're looking to expand your business. So it's good to have that all figured out, get pre-qualified. It also shows the franchise companies that you're prepared, ready to go, and already pre-approved and pre-qualified, for example, an SBA loan. Takeaway number 2 was around feedback and support. So what does that mean? So the franchise companies, and as I mentioned, we had over 125 plus franchise companies, and they really talked about the value of feedback and having more, having national conferences with the every single franchisee, having weekly calls and things like that to get feedback. Franchise companies, they want you to be successful, right? They want their franchisees to be successful, following the system, and they're always looking for ways to improve. So that feedback could be, areas of improvement, certain services that are needed. Is the marketing working, or can it be set up differently or in a better way? So franchisors really have, just said, what, let us know, we're going to grow this franchise. We want you to be super successful, but at the same time, your feedback is extremely valuable to us. And that feedback, as we were speaking with one of the brands, they actually doubled, believe it or not, doubled the length of their training in order to cover the additional aspects of marketing and sales and just overall product knowledge in this one particular business. So the franchisors are listening. They've really stressed that they value that feedback and are open to suggestions. I always say the Subway franchise, their $5 footlong, was actually an idea of a franchise owner, or of a few franchise owners, I believe. So, they definitely, take, and I'm not saying they're going to take every idea, maybe that's an additional revenue stream, and it may be something down the road, but don't be shy. That's the, the opportunity and the advantage of a franchise, is that, you may feel like you're kind of the only one struggling in a certain area or need help, or feel like improvements needed, and you may not be the only one. So definitely, give your feedback and maybe additional services. We saw one of the brands started with one service offering, and now they're up to 9. So what does that mean? Franchisees benefited in a big way, because there really wasn't too big of a additional investment aside from some training and maybe some equipment, for their staff. But offering now 9 revenue streams without having to buy additional territories or franchises is a huge advantage to the franchisee, as well as the franchisor. And then finally, something, I was on a show a while back, and we talked about the idea of community. Community has been really big, and the idea of community means a few things. Number one, as I mentioned prior, the franchise companies, they had these national conventions, and there's a community. But the benefit of that community, looking at one of the brands that we work with, is that people are bringing different feedback, right? They're bringing different experience, different ways of doing business. So sometimes having these groups, and maybe it's not talking to every single franchisee, but maybe it's getting together 10, 15, 20 franchisees in a specific area and sharing ideas. Maybe almost like a mastermind, where everyone kind of brings different ideas to the table. These are valuable ways, and one of the major benefits in that a franchise company can bring these franchisees with various skill sets and backgrounds and ideas to the table. So that sense of community is big. Feedback, talking with your fellow franchisees. Sometimes you've been assigned a coach, you've gone through training, but speaking with various franchisees, maybe they have different kind of levels of experience. One of the franchisees may be 2-3 years in, and you may be a brand new rookie. So you may have some questions as to how to go about launching the business, tweaking, or maybe a job placement ad, or getting some advice on who that general manager needs to be, because you're running this business semi-absentee. So you want to make sure that they have the right fit, that right person in place running the day to day. So, those are my 3 takeaways. There hasn't been, I wouldn't say, huge changes. A lot has to do with the feedback and overall constant improvement of the brands. That sense of community funding has always been extremely important. And, some of the feedback we receive from the franchisors is that, let's make sure that this is an area that gets tackled sooner than later, because, one of the unfortunately, one of the major reasons certain franchisees maybe fail or don't do well is that they're undercapitalized. They just don't have the funding to truly launch the business, to spend the appropriate amount on marketing and ad spend and things like that. So really getting clear on what you will need, to make, how long it'll take to launch that business. When talking with the franchise company, talk to them about, well, okay, when's the next training, and realistically lay out next, 3 to 6 months as to signing a franchise agreement, training, and actually launching the business. So these are things that each franchise company can outline for you. And then obviously checking your schedule to make sure it all works. But again, funding, support from the franchisor, and listening to franchisees and additional service offerings, followed by the power of community and having that built-in mastermind within your organization, giving you ideas. And by the way, last thing on community could be, working with your local and neighboring franchisees, because in reality, you may be going in together on a marketing campaign. You may have a large job. It may be a big restoration job that you just picked up and need some additional manpower. So maybe sharing staff and employees from a few offices. Maybe that, down the road, you go to sell that business, that franchise owner may be your next buyer to acquire your business, or vice versa. You may be buying their business. So it's really good to have that sense of community, know your neighboring franchisees. Could be your future exit strategy or future strategy in growing that business. So I always say, definitely make friends with your neighbors, share ideas. Everyone's had to start somewhere. So especially if they're a few years ahead of you, talk to them about specifically in your area, what type of marketing strategy has worked, has not worked, and kind of work together. And at the end of the day, this is a team effort. So that's what excites me about franchising, is that support. The franchisor has figured out as much as they can, figure out the best way of doing business, but we always look for ways of leveraging and improving, and that's your community and group of franchisees, and take advantage. I highly recommend going to those national conferences if that franchise company offers one. So thanks again for joining us today. Again, first show of 2024. We have a great lineup of ideas as to kind of what you've been asking. We've had some people saying, can you update, maybe do an update or revised version of a show, and we're working on a few shows in that area. But please let me know if you have any questions or a topic you'd like for me to cover. Best way is if you go right to the website, ggthefranchiseguide.com. You can send me a message. You can send me an email directly at gg@ggthefranchiseguide.com. That goes directly to me. So if you have a concern, a question, a topic you'd like to cover, or if you'd like to chat, love to chat with you directly. We do 20-minute calls and helping anyone figure out if a franchise is a good fit for them. Please, we value your feedback, and we built all of 2023 based off your recommendations and feedback. Again, thank you for your support. Let me know what you think of the new artwork of the show, and did some intros and the new website. Definitely, if you have any questions, we've added. We realize people are coming in at different goals, right? Some people are looking to leave their job, or some people have been downsized and looking to run a business full time. Some people looking just for time freedom, something on the side. There's different goals, and people are looking at different situations. So here to help and want to be as customized as possible. So thanks again, everyone, for your support. We look forward to speaking with you soon, and have a great week.
Thanks for tuning in. If you want to learn how to make the transition from corporate to owning your franchise, join Giuseppe on the next episode. You can also follow on all social media platforms and achieve financial and time freedom today.